We're sewing for Barbie today. Let's take a look at where we left off. We got some pattern pieces cut. So I do a little trick sometimes. Why make one dress when I can just as easily make two?
Double fresh, double smooth, double delicious to chew. A double pleasure is waiting for you. Doublemint Gum.
Now, when I was cutting the bodice pattern out of this last little scrap of fabric, I didn't have quite enough fabric left to be able to cut this pattern piece on the fold. Let me show you what I mean. Right here, place on fold. So I didn't have enough fabric, so what I did instead was I cut two pieces and added some seam allowance. This is just a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And now I'm going to start by sewing my first stitches. I'm going to try to pattern match this red gingham. Worst case, if it doesn't look good, maybe we'll just make one Barbie dress instead of two. This pattern that I'm working from is McCall's 7137. It's a vintage pattern licensed by Mattel from 1963. So right now I've got my walking foot on. I need the fabric to be overhanging where that side of the walking foot is. So I'm going to help get a little bit closer to the edge by moving my needle from the center to the left position. See if we can do a scant 1/4 inch seam. This is my first time doing that for a pattern. Oh boy. It's so tiny. A lot of you have been asking me what's easier to sew, human clothes or doll clothes. Let's find out. Here we go. Do a little back stitch. The reason I'm using my walking foot is just for the fact that I'm trying to pattern match this. It's gonna really perhaps help me line up these checks with each other a little bit better than if I had a regular foot on. Go one more and do a back stitch. I feel like I'm gonna get caught here. We'll see. Come on, come on. All right, not bad. Let's take a look and see how our seam looks. Are you obsessive about pattern matching? Do checks and stripes drive you crazy? Or do you love the challenge? Well, here's our seam. Well, this is not perfect, but I will take it. Look at me pattern matching for the win. All right, so this is already come into shape. Now, this dress is going to have 2 snaps in the back, and this is our center back seam here. So that's going to be the snaps, and it's also got some front darts and some back darts. So these are going to be the darts for the front. Oh my gosh, look how cute and little this is. All right, so I think what I'm going to do to start is just press this seam open with my fingers. So now I've got my instructions are hung up just right in front of my machine, my pretty little pegboard. Make dart at the front and darts at the back on the inside. I'm going to take off my walking foot. This is a straight stitch foot. I think that's what it's called. It's a little bit different than the universal foot, which is what most folks would be using for sewing. I think it's just going to let me get a really nice, neat, a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to have to center my needle here, otherwise that's going to be a problem. I'm a little bit nervous about sewing these darts, so thank you for the support. This is my first time sewing doll clothes. So far, so good. Ordinarily, if I was sewing darts on a top, I would be doing it like this, typically. Let's get this first dart sewn. And this is just gonna be This is about the cutest thing I've ever seen. The thing I'm sewing is about 1.5 inches long, okay? So here we go. Yeah, I want a stitch length of 10. All right. Let's do some back stitch. One more. And now, let's make sure we don't get caught. Come on, come on. I just want to get this through here. Okay. And just like a normal dart, I just ran off the edge of the pattern. I didn't back stitch there. Whoops. Uh-oh. My tension might be off a little bit on my, oh. Huh. Let me get my head in the game here. I was getting a little bit distracted. Look. I'm a little bit confused what's going on. I think my tension might be weird, but these stitches on this side look good. Look at this dart. Look at our first dart in her dress bodice for Barbie. I'll take it. Now, you always want your darts to not be too pointy at the end. And typically for human size clothes, you can do that by shortening your stitch length. I think I'm okay with how it looks now. What do you think? Pretty good? Let's do the other one. So, what are my thoughts? Barbie clothing versus human clothing. What's easier to sew? So far, I'm preferring doll clothing because it's less effort, but it seems to be more focus, dexterity, and attention to detail. And those are things that I really love putting energy into, but I also have difficulty with those tasks. So this is really good training for my brain and for my fingers. Let's do the next dart. Back stitch. I'm hand cranking a lot of this because it's just so small. Okay, now let's see if we're gonna get caught under here. Let's hope we don't. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, and we're off. Oh my gosh! I feel like I'm fighting my sewing machine a little bit. Look at this. So, as we know, Barbie is pretty busty. And these darts, these are the front darts, right? Yes. These darts are going to allow for some really nice form-fitting shaping. Okay, looking good. Now we're gonna do the back darts. So again, we're gonna be right sides together. Regrettably, I don't have these marked on my patterns. So I'm just gonna kind of tear through here like this, and then I'm gonna mark. See what I mean about the tiny detail work? I've had a lot of surgeries on my fingers and thumbs, wrists and elbows, and this kind of stuff can be difficult for me, especially as I get tired. I'm just a big fan of marking my patterns clearly and then sewing on the lines. How's everybody doing today? If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. What I'd like to hear from you is if you sew Barbie clothes, how long you've been a Barbie fan, and do you square dance? Because Barbie does. She's going square dancing. So now this dart is a little bit longer. It's a little more narrow. And this is going to be the back dart. So here I'm going to try to line this up the best I can. That looks pretty good to me. I'm just going to hand press this here. And now we're going to start to sew. I really like this narrow. Oh, you know what? Let me just make it even easier for myself and draw a line on here. I got this nice narrow point. Sorry, I got a pen cap in my mouth. A narrow tip, what's the word? Friction pen. Right sides together is how we're sewing this. We're gonna pop our presser foot down, and we're gonna sew another dart. Okay, here we go. That seemed weird. I don't know why it feels like my foot wasn't moving at all. Am I stuck on something? Rather than fight with stuff, because this is so delicate, let me just pull this out and try to figure out what's going on. My thread's like tangled up somehow. So let me just cut this out and we'll restart. Fighting with my machine is never really effective. And if there's a subtle sign that something's going wrong with my needle or with my thread or with my tension, I'm not gonna fight through it. I'm just gonna stop, pause, and try to fix it. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So's Barbie. Okay, let's try this again. I'm gonna stitch just a couple and then back stitch. This is really weird and scary. Let me try back stitching and see what happens. Okay. Ew, now I'm panicking. My presser foot's down. Let's try kind of pushing it through here and see if we can get it to start. Oh. I'm not sure what's happening. Well, that was not great. But let's see if it's doable. Not really. I'm gonna have to redo this dart. I don't know why it feels like my feed dogs aren't moving the fabric is what's going on. And that's never a good thing, is it? Here, I'll show you up close how that looked. I couldn't. Well, you know, it is what it is. Let me cut these threads and I'm just gonna repeat that effort. I can tell that my hands and dexterity are starting to fade a little bit. And that's okay. We just take it slow and pace ourselves. But let's see if we can do this again a little bit more effectively. Ah, what is happening? What? Let's do some machine troubleshooting, because that's always real fun, right? Are my feed dogs not scooting? Is that what's going on? What are my... It looks like they're scooting okay. My tension is at 6. That's kind of where I usually keep it. My stitch length is at 10. My needle's centered. How about my thread? Is something threaded wrong? It looks all okay. Maybe I'm just having trouble with that dart. What if I just pop over to the other side and see how that does? Oh, shoot. I have to fold this so that it's right sides together. Glad I caught that in time. It's easy to make mistakes in sewing when you're tired or dehydrated. I could definitely use a drink right now. Guys, my mouth is like the Sahara. Do you have the dry mouth like I do? It's the worst. The worst. Okay, here we go. Come on, dart. Let's make this one easy. You guys can go over there. Let me try. I don't know what I'm gonna try. Wait, what? Oh my goodness. We're turning this into a complete disaster, unfortunately, and I'm a little bit nervous that it's not going to be redeemable, salvageable. Okay, I think we got it though. Let's go. All right, not my best dart, but it got done. Boy, this one is really messed up. Ugh. Not so long ago, I commented that I felt sewing doll clothes was a lot easier than sewing people clothes. That was when we had sewn the front center seam of the bodice and the 2 front darts. Pretty good, right? Now, the back darts, which are so freaking scant, are kind of changing my mind on this. So, I mean, possibly the difficulty is from the fact that I'm sewing a dart that is about oh my goodness, this is like 1/16 of an inch wide, and it gets even thinner from there. So that is challenging, okay? Let's be a little gentle with myself and accept that sewing things this delicate and this tiny are kind of hard. But yeah, could we just take a moment here and honor my effort? We've got one dart that is way too narrow. So here's where the one dart ends. And my other one is about like over a 1/4 inch higher. So these guys, I feel, because of the level of attention I pay to things, I feel like I need to redo both these darts. And sadly, I don't think I have energy or effort right now to do that. However, we can set that aside because we've also got some little baby sleeves to work on. So for these sleeves, I'll take you over to the instructions. Turn up lower edges on hemline and edge stitch. So that's going to be down here. Gather the lower edges along the line indicated. Oh my gosh, are we gathering in 2 places? I think we are. All right, so it looks like first what we're doing is we're doing an edge stitch, and then we're going to gather there, and then we're also going to gather up here. Oof, so this is the wrong side of the fabric here. So the first step is to just turn up the lower edge on the hemline and edge stitch. How big is this right now? It's about 1/8 of an inch. Can I really like edge stitch this? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I can with this narrow hem foot. Or I'm sorry, this is not a narrow hem foot. This is a straight, I think this is a straight stitch. It is good to laugh, Marn. I love it. I'm feeling pretty mellow today, which I'm here for. It's not, you know, very exciting weather outside. So a mellow sewing Saturday afternoon is in order. I can't figure out what's going on with my machine. There's something happening here that is not helping my efforts. And we might just... Come on, fabric. Okay, we got it. I have never sewn a hemline that tiny in my life. Okay, look at this. Check out this craftsmanship. That's a nice tiny little hem there, isn't it? All right, so if we're gonna do some gathering stitches, let's put my stitch length to the longest setting. Do people who sew doll clothes use special sewing machines? Because this is just incredibly small. Okay, let's go. feels like my stitches are just all over the place. Hi there, Betty. Oh, you hand sew. Yes, that is something I'm a little bit concerned about that because I have some hand issues. But I think I'm glad to hear that because this is incredibly difficult to do on the machine, I'm finding. I'm doing it, but it's not easy. And yeah, there's no way that I could use the machine to attach this tiny little sleeve to the bodice. But God knows I might still try it anyway. Okay, let's get the next gathering stitch in here. Oh, the hand cramps. Yes, that is painful. That is super painful. Okay. I've got all the tools to help me with hand sewing. I've got the readers. I've got a needle threader. I've got these stitches kind of look a mess. Okay, well, I can't gather it yet because I still have to do some more gathering stitches up here. Oh, Betty! If you ever want to learn to use a machine, I think it's worth learning. I just love it. I always wanted to sew. Ever since, like, I remember 7 years ago, I put out into the universe, is there anyone who could teach me how to sew and help me pick out a sewing machine? And it actually didn't happen until last year that the universe was like, here's a sewing machine at a thrift store. You're gonna learn how to fix it up. You're gonna learn how to sew, Terry, on a vintage Singer. My first sewing machine was a Fashion Mate 362. And what I'm sewing on today is my vintage Singer 457 Stylist. She's lovely. Aww, that's wonderful. Betty says that her grandma was the one who used to sew for all of them. And that's where her love of sewing comes from. I love that. I'm using this really, really small side of the foot. Bye-bye, Betty. Thanks for subscribing. So I'm going to try to put this seam as close to this edge as I can. Here we go. And we're sewing a curve, which is always fun. I have a little aid here. I don't know if this is going to be helpful or not, but maybe I'll pop that over there too. Let's go. I think the key is really just going very, very slow. I have to pivot here. Okay. Oh, I'm getting really close to coming off the edge. Oh my goodness. Come on. Okay, I'm gonna call that a win because I think I stayed on the fabric the whole time. Slow, slow, slow. I'm just lining up my first line of stitching with the inside of this. Maybe I want to go a little further over. So, okay, now I'm lining up the center of this with my former stitch line. I'm hand cranking some of this too. This part of the curve is the trickiest. I'll just do one more and then pivot. Okay. And I'm going to pivot a little more. Oh. It's harder often sewing through one layer of fabric than 2 layers. And this is just a pretty thin cotton that I'm using. It's a cotton percale sheet that I got from Walmart on clearance. Oh my god, wait till you see these gathering stitches. They're a little bit embarrassing, but look, I'll take it. Now, if y'all are not familiar with what gathering stitches do, let me show you, or let me try to show you. Why do I have an extra thread up here? Oh, it's because I have two sets of gathering stitches and they're so close to each other. Why did I even need two sets? Did I need two sets of gathering stitches? No, I didn't. Why did I think I did? I didn't need two sets stitched right next to each other. The way that it looks on the pattern is just, all right, so that's like gathered up. We've got a pretty little puff sleeve. Which side is the side that goes? Okay, here we go. Oh my gosh. Let me pull this one. What are we gathering it to again? What did I say? Gather into 1 1/8 inch. Okay. So I feel like I could have just done one set, like one line of gathering stitches for this. So this then will get stitched down here, closed. But let's just imagine what this is going to look like when we attach it to the bodice. Oh my god, look at how flippin' cute this is. Yes, the hand cranking is the key, Marn. I always have some issues with torque. I think I could probably replace the belt on this machine, but the like the fabric isn't under enough. Like there's not enough surface area, it seems like, between the foot and the fabric to get it started going sometimes. There's ways around that though. I could do some troubleshooting. All right, so now let's just take a little look here. Oh, Michelle. She says, I can't even imagine sewing anything that tiny. I'd lose my mind. And let's see, you had a friend, you had someone in your family or a close family friend that made clothes for your Barbies back in the 70s. How awesome is that? Oh my goodness. And this is, like I said, a 1963 pattern. Look at, this is really, it's already coming along. And I do need to stop now because I'm out of energy. But Barbie's gonna be looking cute pretty soon. Yeah, this is gonna be an ongoing project. I like to do live streams, and then when possible, I upload the videos to my YouTube channel. Check out the series and check out my channel for more vintage sewing and lots of fun here on Adventures with Disabilities. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing.